Hey Mariam, brilliant work here. It's great to see your dedication to this, and the more writing you're doing, the better it will get. So you're doing really well, and it's the best way to improve. Let's have a look at what you've written then. So let's go from the beginning. While some people believe that only academic curriculum should be taught at school, I strongly advocate that entertaining education, which includes interaction and integration, that contribute to a better grasping of new information. Okay, good. So you've got some interesting points in here, which is a great way to start. One thing I would say about the structure here is that for that introduction, we've got one single sentence. Now, if it was shorter, that would possibly be okay, but here it's a little bit too long. So you might want to consider breaking it down into either two sentences or using different structures. So let's have a look at it. So while some people believe that only academic curriculum should be taught at school, good, okay, I strongly advocate, good is a good way to put your opinion in there, that entertaining education, which includes interaction and integration. So this is where it starts to get a little bit too long. Okay, so it might be that you put, I strongly advocate that entertaining education should be taught as well as academic curriculum. Okay, so we're ending on entertaining education should be taught in schools, for example. This includes interaction and integration, which contribute to a better grasping of new information. Okay, so see how we're breaking that down into more than one long winding sentence, instead of having two shorter ones. Okay, so there's that. All right, let's move on from there slightly. The main reason why enjoyable learning is more fruitful than the conventional methods is that it facilitates the grasping of new knowledge through exploration and research in an intellectual way rather than memorization. Okay, good. So again, we've got a slightly long sentence here. So let's see if we can reduce that slightly. So the main reason is a great way to start to show that you're moving into your reasons now after your introduction. The main reason why enjoyable learning is more fruitful than the conventional methods is that it facilitates the grasping of new knowledge through exploration and research. Okay, now, one thing to note is that we've got the word grasping for a second time here. We've got it here as well. So possibly look for a different word, a synonym here, just to show the examiner that you can use different phrases as well. So what I think would be good is if we stopped that sentence after new knowledge. Okay, because when we start a paragraph, we want to start with our point, followed by our evidence, followed by our explanation. Okay, so we don't want our point at the beginning to be too long, because then we want to move into giving evidence for it. So the main reason why enjoyable learning is more fruitful than, say than with an N, than the conventional methods is that it facilitates the grasping, okay, or an alternative word, of new knowledge. Okay, so full stop there. This is because it encourages, could be a good way to start, exploration and research in an intellectual way rather than memorization. Okay, so you're showing how conventional methods are not so good through memorization, and that this is giving us exploration and research. Okay, good. In other words, so have an S on the end of words. In other words, children need to be more integrated in the learning process as this keeps their attention. Okay, good. By integrated here, the meaning is not quite clear, and I think the word that you're going for is involved. So children need to be more involved or more active in the learning process as this keeps their attention. We could say instead of keeps, we might use the word maintains their attention. So this maintains their attention. Okay, good. For instance, a recent study from German educationalists revealed that children who visit the zoo, no capital here, so Z-O-O, all small letters, lowercase letters, zoo learn more information about animals by 40% than those who read about animals' lives. Okay, we can slightly change the structure of this sentence to make it more concise. So we could say children who visit the zoo learn 40% more information about animals than those who read about animals' lives. So lives. Okay, just makes it slightly more concise. Therefore, incorporating scientific facts in child's activity has much better outcomes. Okay, yes, we've got really good evidence in that paragraph. So the 40% more information from going to the zoo rather than reading. So therefore, incorporating scientific facts in. Good, okay. This last sentence is not quite clear enough because we're trying to say that incorporating facts into these different activities. We want to make it really clear what activity you're talking about, whether that be conventional activities or more exploratory activities. So make that really clear. Okay, good. So moving on to the next paragraph, it's undeniable. Brilliant, great use of vocabulary. It's undeniable that children have different abilities and cognitive skills, so classes should cater for their interests. Good, well done. Okay, so we're moving on to the different students now as well. So rote learning may be suitable for some students while it may be completely boring for others, so they will be distracted and unable to concentrate. Okay. This is good. So good use of rote learning there, and that it may be suitable for some students. Good use of while in that structure as well. What I would say is this phrase completely boring. We need to be a little bit careful with boring because it's more of an opinion phrase than a factual phrase. So we might say, for example, I find this television program boring. So it's a little bit too much emotion for an essay. So what we could say instead is that it might be uninteresting for others. That way we're using a word that is neutral and keeping our writing academic. Okay, so it may be uninteresting for others, so they will be distracted and unable to concentrate. Okay, good. Introducing information through interactive media. Great use of introducing, so starting with a present participle is really good. Introducing information through interactive media and a variety of classroom formats, so no S on classrooms, so a variety of classroom formats, can improve overall attention. Good, well done. For instance, in Finland, which is considered as one of the leading educational systems all over the world, which is considered to be one of the leading educational systems all over the world, or we probably say which is considered to have, because an educational system is something that a country has. So considered to have one of the leading educational systems all over the world. Children choose the way in which lessons will be explained. Okay, good. Therefore, the more schools are attractive, the better the academic achievement for the students will be. Okay, be careful here again with the word attractive. Similar to this last sentence in the previous paragraph, it's not quite specific enough. Okay, so why are they attractive? So we're going from being very specific about Finland to saying the more schools are attractive, but we're not really making it clear how they should be attractive. Okay, so the more schools are attractive, the better the academic achievement for the students will be. Okay, yeah. So first thing is that we could reconsider that word attractive. Is there a better way that we can describe it? Second thing is the structure here. What we would say is the more attractive the schools are, the better the academic achievement for the students will be. Okay, so slightly changing the structure. You've got all of the right words there. It's just putting them in the right order. Okay, and the last part, in conclusion, I reaffirms my position. Now, be careful with this one. First of all, we would not need the S on the end, so I reaffirm. But also this is a slightly strange phrase to use, so we might say instead, I emphasize my position or my opinion that the education has to be amusing for students. So I emphasize my opinion that education has to be amusing for students. And as this leads to a higher performance. This second part is not a sentence in its own right, so it would have to be part of that first sentence. So in conclusion, I confirm my opinion, or I emphasize my opinion that education has to be amusing for students because, or as, this leads to higher performance. Okay. With your conclusion here, just be a little bit careful, because if you look at your introduction is sort of 3 lines, whereas your conclusion is shorter. And what we'd normally say is that your conclusions should round off your essay and summarize what you've spoken about in the main part of your essay. So it should be slightly longer than this, really, because you need to pull out the main points so that the examiner remembers those at the end of your essay. Okay, so the language is good here, but it might be that you just make slightly more of your conclusion. So, saying, for example, that the intellectual ways of learning and more creative ways of learning, perhaps there should be a mixture of those, and so on. So you feel free to develop your opinion slightly more in the conclusion. But yeah, a really encouraging piece of work, so really well done. And yeah, keep up the hard work. Well done.